Kum Lenen, a blood Gemara. Today's daf is daf Chavav, and we are up to the Mishnah on daf Chavav Amud Aleph. So we're continuing the theme. We're continuing the theme about what we have to be concerned with, a goy or not concerned with a goy. Says the Mishnah, Bas Yisrael, a Jewish woman, Leitiyaled Esaved Chav, you should not help. No, you shouldn't go into midwifery. You should not help a non-Jewish woman to have a child. You're grooming a child. You're raising a child in order to serve Avodah Zarah. Again, this is in the old days when everybody was idol worshippers. You could have a goy. You could have a goy to help a Jewish woman give birth to a child. And we'll see in the Gemara Brisa delineates that a bit further. The only possible concern is will she kill the child or not? So we'll see that it's talking about the other people around watching what's happening. Then next part, that's talking about helping to give birth. What about nursing? Bas Yisrael, like Tanik B'Nosha V'Cham, she shouldn't be a wet nurse for a guy. Same reason, you're helping for Avodah Zarah. And there's an Isra B'Fnei Iver, Aval Oivedes Kachavim, but a guy, Manika B'Nosha Yisrael, can nurse a child of a Yid, in a Jewish home. No, it's not in the Goyish house, but in the Jewish home. Now the Brisa will delineate that a bit further. We learn Bas Yisrael, like Tiyaled Esaved Bas Yisrael should not help, should not support in a non-Jew being born Ben Lavodas Kachavim, because she is raising a child to serve Avodah Zarah. And this opinion says a guy is not allowed to help you either, not like our Mishnah said. We're worried that they are going to make sure the child is maimed or worse, and kill the child. These are the words of Rameir. He was very suspicious. And the Chacham can help a Bas Yisrael give birth. Others are there. Not on her own, only if others are watching it, according to Taisus on Rishonim, only in a Jewish home. Just like we said before by Menika in the Mishnah, only Bishusa in her house. Same thing here also, only in a Jewish home. But a mayor holds, but doesn't help. Even if others are standing, it doesn't help. Why? Because there's so many things that she can do. If she was insisting to try to kill the Jewish baby, she can do things that will be going on unnoticed. She can place her hand on the forehead or above the forehead of a young little kid, a young baby just born that's so soft. They cut the leg, just squeeze it in something and kill it and say, "Oh, it was born like a stillborn or something." Nobody will recognize that it was done, by hand. That it didn't happen naturally. In fact, there's a story of a woman. The Amr L'Chavda said to her friend, "Meiloda." She uses the pejorative term. Meiloda Yudayasa Bas Meiloda Yudayasa. You are a midwife who helps, who's the daughter of a midwife. What a scar on your family. What a stain. You helped Jewish women being born. Bas Melodi Yidosah, just like a stain in your family. Amrullah, she said, Nefishin Bishta, so many punishments should be that he eats a woman to come Mashpila Minai Damba. What are you talking about? You know how many people I killed? As many Jewish kids that I killed, and I look so innocent, as many Jewish kids that I killed because I'm a midwife should be heaped on you as punishments. I killed them like those waves, logs that go down a river or other pshatim. So in other words, on the contrary, I'm in a position I can do so many good things, and that fact that you insulted me, you should be punished. So Rameh says, you see, how can you trust a midwife? Look how many she said she killed. So Rabbanan says, Lohi, b'milsa ba'alma hudu kimdo. She's just saying it to defend herself, but it's just talk. Just talk. You know how many nurses they found? A few nurses that committed euthanasia and all that, and dozens and dozens of cases. They've gone completely unnoticed until they started to look into it. Okay, so that's the case about miyaledis. Same thing. Basically, you shouldn't have a Jewish girl. Should be mainly should be nursing by a guy because you're raising with a zod. But when it comes to a guy for a yid, again, the Mishnah says that you could. Bishusa. Talk about a bit further to delineate more. Like same so like Tani Bashar, you shouldn't be nursing, be a witness for going. You're supporting a kid for Avodah Zarah. But nor should a guy be allowed to. Same reason. This is Rameh. They're Rameh because they're scared that they are going to do something all right for Jewish kids. Chacham say, that is kachavim menikas b'nosha bas Yisrael bizman. If you have others in the room watching, she can't do anything, and therefore it's all safe, and she can be a wet nurse. Not on their own. But Meir says, I feel like you don't trust others. Why? Because there's in the shayful she can place poison on the tip of her breast, outside of the room. Nobody will notice, and then the child will die from poison. And this is even worse because this is much more ominous. You can stand and watch. You have no clue. You have no idea what she does in preparation before she walks into the room. Therefore, because what I just told you right now, we need both cases. The Chayder and Meir have the same argument. The principle is the same. Whether you trust that if others are in the room is sufficient or not. That's what we need. That's why because she can't really do any harm. Say, yeah, we're lenient. Others are watching and monitoring. The child is born. What she can do? When it comes to nursing, the she could have done something outside the room. Nobody's watching. Then the kotman, she can cause harm to the child. Maybe the chama then in this case we shouldn't trust them at all. Maybe they can see to Rameh. We only know the case of the nursing by only Rameh said it. Maybe Rameh is so stringent over there because of that reason that she can do something outside. There's no way of ever checking or monitoring it. The kotle and cause harm to the child. But if it doesn't pass, others are there watching. If we did both. Okay, but I mean, we ask the question. It says clearly in the Braise that if you receive money, you're permitted to be a midwife. But not if it's not if it's for gratis. Why should it be permitted? Well, you just said that it's forbidden because you're raising a child of Avodah Zarah, and if you get paid for it, why is it permitted? Says you have no excuse. When it comes to doing it for free, you have an excuse. You can say, "Oh, you have a million excuses. I need a parnasa. I don't have the time." But when you get paid and you do it for others, you're a midwife. That's your profession, and you're not going to do it for goyim. You know, kind of animus that creates, kind of tippity that creates, and we live in the world, so we have to curry their favor, and we have to be a mensch. So a concept called Ava, and we'll talk about it soon a bit more. This concept of Ava, how far we take it. So Rabbi Yosef was of the opinion to say that even to do it on Shabbos, b'schar, if you get paid, shadi, you're allowed to Ava. Takes Ava a step further. Not only are you allowed to be a midwife and help a girl your kid being born, but you're also allowed to do it on Shabbos as long as you get paid. Abai said, "There's no Ava you could avoid. Since it's Shabbos, let's try to avoid Ava. Come up with a good enough excuse, and therefore there won't be any personal animosity. For example, Yochel Memos, you can say Didon." Now, if the going will accept this argument, Didon the minter Shabbat. We're not allowed to Chal Shabbos, but if there's a concept called we have in Mariyuma, Chalel Shabbos Aber Achas B'Shvil Sheyishmech Shabbos Haber. You're allowed to desecrate one Shabbos because you'll watch many. So by us, we keep Shabbos, observe Shabbos. So I'm going to be Mechal Shabbos, but I'm going to raise a child that's going to observe many Shabbosim. But since you don't observe Shabbos, I'm just going to be desecrating the Shabbos. What excuse do I have to desecrate a Shabbos to give birth to a child that's not going to observe Shabbos? And maybe they'll understand that argument. So Abaye says, you can tell her the done the minter Shabbat to Mechalin. We're allowed to Mechal. But it's chudo le minter Shabbat. You don't observe Shabbos le Mechalin. We have no right to desecrate a Shabbos when there's no benefit as far as Shabbos gains nothing from it. But from saving a Jew, from giving birth to a Jewish child, Shabbos gains from it. Yeah, argument.
Don't be upset about it.
Similarly, Sabbath said, Anuki was Chashadi, Mishra may be allowed to be a wet nurse because of Ava. You're allowed to Ava. You're allowed to if you get paid again. You're allowed to because then we have no excuse. Then you're generating Ava. If you help, this is what you do for a profession. You're a wet nurse, and you're not going to do it for a guy. Then obviously there's that there's a phobia here, and we cannot allow that. So if you get paid, you have no excuse. But if you don't get paid, you say, look, I need to work. I need to make a living outside. I don't have the time to do it. Says the Gemara. Or the bottom of the page, Chavav and Aleph. Again, if you can avoid Ava coming up with a good excuse, then you have no right for Ava to remove any serve. For example, you can say, if I'm a single girl, I have to get married, and if I'm already starting to nurse babies before I get married, it's going to cause of course, yeah, exactly. It'll cause all kinds of tzaras. People won't want to date me. And he actually said, married woman, like come is dam the bapigavid. I can't, for my husband, come home sullied and dirty with being a witness for somebody else. I can't do that. So Rabbi says, if we have an excuse, we can avoid Ava. We introduce the concept of Ava. We're talking about if you're allowed to help out a guy, be born and be a midwife, or to be a wet nurse. And we said that you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't be a mayaledes because you are helping a child go for Avodah Zarah, be raised for Avodah Zarah, and the same thing with nurturing, being a wet nurse for Avodah Zarah. And the converse is a guy for you. But the only time you're allowed to is if somebody's monitoring, otherwise they can cause harm to the baby. And now it comes on Rabbi, and we learned in the Braisa, but if you get paid, you're allowed to. Rabbi explained that the reason why we allow is to get paid to help the child being born or to nurses because otherwise it's Ava. You do for everybody else, why you do for us? And Rabbi says, no, the moment you have an excuse, you can get around Ava. Big Machek is a shame, how far we take Ava. Big Machek is a shame. Taisus asked the question, what's the problem with how can Ava be allowed to give birth? Giving birth, you're taking the child out of the mother's womb, and that's your oikah something mikadulis. And Isa deraisa. So when does Ava remove it? Isa deraisa. So his answer is something Isa rabbanon because they're talking about a case where the child already is ready to come out. It's on his way out, so therefore it's already detached from his mother. Or it's not on the way out, but it's already fully. It's a full 9 months, and therefore it's already anyway detached. In other words, Taisus holds.
Was this
Yeah, exactly. But so what is he clear from this Taisus right here? And some of the shayim that Ava pushes away Isa the Ramon. Clear. But it's not pushed away Isa the Rice. The other Rishayim hold, in fact, it doesn't even push away Isa the Rabbanon. Only push away moved in the Chayil and these kind of things in Hilchot does not push away in Isa the Rabbanon as well. There's a famous Cham Sofer says that if you're living among Goyim and your mom is worried about that, cause all kinds of pogroms or whatever, even Isa the Rice, Ava will push away. And today we use Ava for a lot of things, and we push them up a lot. Says the Gemara, and unfortunately, the last 18 months we see what's happening, and we have to be very careful what excuses we give them, pretexts. Was full of opinion. It said that somebody, an idol worshiper, or a roye behema, is a beautiful be'er hagriv. Didn't have a chance to look it up to remind myself. I think it's a simishin pehei in Chesha Mishpat. Be'er goes one of God's grandfather, and he talks about how important it is we live among goyim, and we have to learn how to interact and be a good, loyal citizen. A long piece there, very, very interesting. Someone's an idol worshiper, or someone is a roya behema daka, or someone is raising behema daka. Remember, we learned that a roya generally steals from others, but only if it's his own animal. If it's other people's animals, he's a professional shepherd for others. Ain't no we had in Gemara. So that doesn't count. But his own animals, we think is a gan. So therefore, loy mailin, the loy mairidin. If they fell into a pit, you don't have to help them. No feel of helping them. But on the other hand, you're not going to go ahead and just throw them in. But if they're prepared to give you money, then shari, you're allowed to draw them out and save them. Mishum Ava. They cause a gar. You will cause Ava. Abaye said, there's no Ava. The guy's stuck in a pit. Look at Abaye says it. Anyway, see if these things work. You can tell him, look, I need the ladder. My son is sitting on the roof. I got to go save him. Sorry, I can't help you. I got to go save my son. Or I was just instructed by the royal family. I have to go deliver a letter for them. So I'm sorry, I'm not available to help you. I'm not available to help you. Yeah, the money. Please answer the question. So why is it that a roya only chashra button as they write by Maglin by Medina? And we don't have such a thing, for example, like Ganef. A Ganef who's possible not trade, he's definitely Ganef. A Gazlan. No such thing as like Maglin Medina. Why should a roya be worse than a Gazlan? And Tate says, Hainu Hach. Sometimes when it's only midrabanan, it needs to be chizuk. People dismiss it. It's only midrabanan. So we to strengthen, to show you that it's usher. We decided dafka here loy mylin, so people realize that the royim will realize how serious it is, and they should take it seriously. And we should realize how serious it is. We know it's possible how to for ages and all that, so we don't need to do any extra precautions to remind us how terrible it is. Anyone right? Tani, Rabbi Vu came Rabbi Yechon, Vu lim Rabbi Yechon, and Ha'ivik Chav Rei Ben Bedaka. I'll go from an idol worshiper or Rei Bedaka, Lay Maili, Lay Marit. That part of the Braisa. But then he continues. You don't help and you don't put down. Avol Haminin, but somebody who is an idol worshiper, the Hamisoidis, and somebody who's a Masa, even just giving over the money, an informer, giving over, showing with the government, with the guy that pays taxes and whatever, where he's hiding his money. The Hamumrin, giving over to the government who can, and the way Rashi as a Nosir, the government will take it illegally. The Hamumrin, and somebody who's a mummer, who habitually is over Avedas. Remember, there's two kinds of mummer. We had a Sanhedrin, a mummer l'tiyavin and a mummer l'hachis. A mummer l'tiyavin is somebody, he enjoys food, and there's something treif there, he eats it. And the mummer, let's say, and the mummer l'hachis is, as Rashi says, and this is a very stringent view of it, that a mummer l'hachis is there's heter and there's iser in front of him, and he eats the iser. Now, there's a possibility today they don't understand the mile of heter over iser, and therefore they'll take the iser. That's not necessarily lahachis, but the Rashi and the Rule Training, that's the definition. Basically, the definition of the Gemara said that a moment lahachis is somebody has a choice and still choose opts for the one that's wrong. And why am I bringing this up? We'll see in a minute. And a moment, they're much worse. Them, you actually toss into the boy, and definitely you don't help. The obvious question is, if you toss them into the boy, you need to tell me you're not going to help them. Of course, you're not going to help them. You can't even toss them in. So said back to Babu, I hold is another bright, is a facial, but I said what I repeat all the time. Then you have to return. This is what you should do to every aved of your brother. That you got to return it. For maybe learn also aved saguf, you got to return. You help somebody out. L'rabbis is a moment. I mean, that even a mummer, you have to give back a Shabbos Aveda. And you're telling, and we use that pasuk also for Hashavas Aguf. And you're telling me that not only you don't have to return the Aveda, that when Mila but Meridin, you throw them in. So Abavu answered back, you're right. Some mekan mummer, erase from the Bryce, your Bryce that you're repeating a mummer, because there's no mummer there. You're right. A mummer, you're not allowed to you're not allowed to be made because l'chol Aveda is a said Gemara, why don't we just answer him? Can the mummer oichel bevelis and can the mummer l'teyaven, but can mummer oichel bevelis hachis? If it's a mummer l'teyaven, then tackle l'chol avedus achicha. You help the guy out. But if it's l'hachis, might eat it. Why didn't you just answer that? Because somebody he holds that oichel nevelim l'hachis minu comes under the umbrella of min. A min is somebody who is including a mummer l'hachis is a min, and so therefore when it says mumin. What can mumin mean only? A mummer can only be when it says mummer can only be l'tei oven, and if it's a oven, it says l'chol aved it can't be. Therefore, he says, you know what? Some can remove it from here.
In the top of the page, Rashi defines minion as
Avodah Zarah. Doesn't make a difference. Rashi says in a certain sense, minor community if somebody falls under the category of min or just a mummer, why put him under min? Because we have a rule that a min should cost of sefer Torah. If a min writes a sefer Torah, you have to burn it. Yeah, service exactly. So therefore, because you have to burn it, it's very important to know who's a min and who's a mummer. A mummer sefer Torah you don't burn, but if it's a min you do. And because Abavu considers a mummer lahachis as a min, not only of the Avodah Zarah, but a mummer lahachis, therefore. The Gemara here is being useless. Oh, the Gemara in the thing. Okay. Itmar, so talking about a mum. Um, talking about a mummer, eat what we learn. Mummer, what's a mummer? Please, what about Chalavina? Machlek is, because you just said right now that he said that a mummer lahach is mummer lahach mutiyavin. Mummer lahach is a min, and a mummer tiyavin is a mummer. So there's an argument between Rabacha and the Ravina, and that is Chadam al tiyavin. One says a mummer is tiyavin, mummer lahach is min have. One says a mummer is a mummer tiyavin because a mummer lahach is someone does it deliberately. He is actually considered a min. This is a min. And again, mumma lahach is the way Rashi explains on top of the pages. Somebody that has iser and heter in front of them, and they opt for the iser, and that's called lahachis. Again, because they know the difference between heter and hachis, and the fact that disregard the heter, and we say, so why do you choose it? As if you did it dafka to choose the iser. Like today, when people have no understanding the mile of kashas over non-kashas. The chadam, another says, I feel hachinami mumma. That even no such thing as a min. And the nafkamin is like I told you that the Shonim say, a min should cost us a dinim, difference between a min and not a min, and therefore we need to know whether they fall under the category of min or they're just a mumma. Ella is a min, so what's a min? If a mumma lahachis is not a min, so who is a min? He's a min. Makes like the question says, Ochal Parish, somebody ate a flea, Echad just one. Oh Yatosh Echad or one that, Hareze Mummer is a mummer. Now the Chayda, there's no geschmack in it. So why are you eating it? Only lahachis. And yet we call a mummer. How can you say that a mummer lahachis is a min? The lahachis who definitely is lahachis because you're not doing it because it's geschmack. Uktani mummer, he's only a mummer, he's not a min. Says Gemara Hossam Boil Mitten Time in the Surah. Over there, he just wants to taste. He's not doing it lahachis. He wants to know what he's missing out on. He sees people eating it.
A fly. He couldn't choose something a little more disruptive.
When I was in Mexico when I was in Mexico on the street corners, they were selling roasted cockroaches on all the street corners. And that was, could they say, full of protein? So this guy wanted to know what this is like. So it's, and the Rai is, as the Shane pointed out, says, echad. If he taka wanted to eat it because for whatever lahach is why only one, eat a whole plateful. In fact, one is only tasting. Right. And how big is a flea ready? How much will it fill you up?
She also says here it's not something that a person enjoys.
That's what we're saying. That's why we're saying it's lahachis. Why else would you do it? So we're saying no. He wants to know what it is. He wants to know what it is.
He wants to know what other people are tasting. He needs
what's he missing out on? He has a FOMO.
People enjoying.
Got you.
Okay, but
they might have a whole. That's what he wants to find out.
He doesn't want to find out that it's disgusting. He wants to find out if it's good.
See, for a person, not only that, a person who never ate treif in their lives, and when you walk away and say you don't eat treif, let's say you don't eat chazer, everyone's like, you have no idea what you're missing. So what's the big deal? There's no nesoyim. So sometimes the guy says, no, I want to taste one takas geschmack. Efshi. But the Avisha said no. You can't say that. You don't have the mile of saying efshi. So if you taste it once, now you know what you're being. Listen, in your mind you can come up with all kinds of cheshbonis. Second one, right? I have a very interesting question. You said you didn't have a mile, and I want to by these cases over here, by a min and a moser and a mummer, you throw them in and you don't take them out. You don't save them from a pit. If you can throw them in, you need to tell me Leim Island. You're allowed to throw them in the first place. It means it's Shimhoisa, Maila Beboy. Let's say there was a step in the boy that he can get out, Migarada. He can scrape it off, so he can no longer get out. The Nakidle Ili come up with an excuse. I took the step down. You know why? Because my animals are roaming around and I'm scared that they're going to see a step. They're going to put the foot there on the step and they're going to fall down. Big machlek is strange. So what's exactly the Gemara's answer? How does that answer the question? So therefore what? So why you tell me like Mylin if the din is that Maydidin? So some want to say that's pshat. Maydidin doesn't mean mamish Maydidin. This is what Maydidin means. Maydidin means is that if you can take the step away. This is much more than loy mylin. Loy mylin normally means the guy help, and bend over and pull him out. You don't have to do that. No, that Maydidin with loy mylin is sort of one thing, and that means is you can scrape away the step. He had a means of getting out without your help, and you took that away. That's what some of the Shani want to say. Other Shani want to say no. The Gemara's answer without saying in so many words is depends. Amol today. Amol when we were Yad Keeper, Yadenu Keeper, when we were the ones in charge. Today is only Loy Mylin, but Loy Mylin goes a little bit further than what you think Lemaili means even today. No, but if you have an excuse, you have an ilah, then that's called Lemaili. This is more than Lemaili.
Why his escape route? That's already a kumbas.
It's in between. It's in between Lemaili and Meiridin.
Walking past, I ignore the voice that's screaming out.
Yeah. So that's what they're saying.
Actually, I did something.
So they're saying the Gemara's answer explaining that Lemaili is more than just normal Lemaili. You don't bend down to help the guy out. You make it more difficult for him to get out, but you didn't push him in, because today we can't push him in. This thing is a better girl. All these things here. Then you want to write another example is let's say there was a stone there, right next to the bay, mechasa. You can go ahead and cover it, and it'll say, I need there's a hole in my animals will fall down. So therefore I'm putting the rock, clocking up, some animals won't fall in. Actually, another Rishon says, Tajba says this. He says, no, you're telling the guy I'm helping you out, because if my animals fall down, they're going to crush you. So I'm covering you up. You can't get out, but at least you're safe. You're going to live. So you starve eventually, and you will. Anyway, Ravina says, Shema Yisula Masalka. Again, you're taking away his means of escape. If there's a ladder, you can take it away. You have excuse. All the kids used to hang around the roofs, and he's about to fall off. Even though in those days over there, the roofs were flat and had a mic around it, somehow or another, his kids are going to fall off. Yisrael moles or oived gechadim l'shum gate. A yid is allowed to mal a goy for gates la fuke, but this excludes the shemoirana. You're not allowed to be mal a goy the shemoirana, which is there's some sickness, a worm inside, so you mal him to lie. You're not allowed to heal a goy, and because you're going to raise him for oived avodas gechadim. And to taste and others trying to learn that this is talking about doing it for free. But if you're getting paid, then we have the mice of Ava. If you're a doctor, what do you mean not helping the guy out? Then Tate has a question: how can we find Gemaras that even with doctors and help people out doesn't anywhere that to get paid? So Tate has an interesting thing. You say that all those doctors were not yet complete doctors, and they were doing it as guinea pigs. They were doing it to test, to make sure that they know the results of their methods if it works. So then you're doing it to help you now in the future as well. So you're allowed to. Again, this is all in those days. As the Midi writes in Hagdama of Avodah Zarah, he said, keep on remembering that as you go through. Orte says, all those Gemaras, the Gemara didn't bother telling us that you're getting paid. But you're getting paid for all those things.
He was trained, he was practicing his become a better doctor.
So here you're helping out a girl with Shumger. And someone has said that Shumger is talking about he wants to come again, but not a proper gate, because he wants to come proper gate. What's a shayla? If this is part of the gators and the Mila and the Kabbalah and mitzvahs, then what do you mean? What's the chiddush? Of course, why even say it? The Rambam writes in the chiddush and Melachim that a goy wants to do mitzvahs, they can. If they want to do it from Tayag mitzvahs on their own, they can. And the question is if they want maluf, you can do that. Not our kind of gators. We had gatim gurudim before. Remember, they were gatim, but they weren't really accepted as thing. But they kept all the mitzvahs, as Rashi says. Yeah, but they felt that they were Yidden, even though they didn't go through Kabbalah's mitzvahs and the beznas they write it. In their minds, I mean, we had a machlek how far gatim gurudim are. But we said, why aren't we worried about bestiality anymore? Because they were gatim, gatim gurudim. Excuse me. And a goy should not mal a yid again, what we had before. You can't leave a goy alone with a yid because they can do something wrong, especially it's so easy with a bris. If you're watching, like we said before, monitoring is all right. But on their own, definitely not. But why not? The zimn in the matlis akida, the knife suddenly goes a little the wrong way, crooked. And he turns the kid and makes the kid sterile, or castrate the kid before they can never procreate. Can't trust them. So you tell me that made holds a goy can't. But I mean, I'll ask you a question. That's why Rashi said that many times. It says Reifa means a moil. We have said in the first pedic and other verses. That if a city that has no Yiddish doctor, no Yiddish moil, what should you do? But you have two choices. The Yezba Reifa Kusi and you have a Reifa Gechavim. You have a goy or a Kusi. A Kusi are eaten, but they didn't believe the Chachamim and so on. Who should you, and the Kusim then became Avodah Zarah and Hagrizim then. Who should you use? Yimol oide kachavim al yimol kusi. Rameir holds better a goy than a yid over the Avodah Zarah. Well, some see why. And Rabbi Yehuda says, but he says a guy. You just said a guy will kill, and he said the face. I made it. And Rabbi Yehuda says, "Yimol kusi v'yimol chav." No, better kusi than a guy. Better kusi than a guy. So someone answers, right? Eifuch. You got to swap the names around. Rameir says, "Yimol kusi v'yimol chav." Rameir holds a guy no, because he might kill the child. And Rabbi Yehuda says, "Chav v'yimol kusi." A guy, yes, better than a kusi who's do for Avodah Zarah. Freddy Gemara, you tell me Rabbi Yehuda says a guy, yes. But for another reason, it's no good. But Tanya a guy can't be a moil. She says, only you, Bnei Avram, can be Shemer a bris, and not a guy. Elon will tell you right. Rabbi Yehuda says a guy can't do it because of the possible Atu. Knew how to explain Rameir. Rameir holds you can't do a guy because he might kill you, and then Rameir says a guy rather than a kusi. My skin is he introduces a new idea. If he's a professional doctor and if he messes up, he'll lose his license. So he's going to make sure that even though he's a guy and he's a yid, he's going to make sure he doesn't ruin his reputation. If this guy has this is his profession, then mutter, right? Because he's scared that he'll lose his license. So the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda is the one who says we swapped it. Rabbi Yehuda says that a guy no, and we said Rabbi Yehuda said a guy no, and a kusi yeah. You swapped it around. I have a problem with that. By the time we learned Yisrael Mol, it's like Kusi, but Kusi lo yim Yisrael, Leishem Mol, Leishem Hagrizim, Rabbi Yehuda, you can't trust the Kusi because of Avodah Zarah. You told me Rabbi Yehuda one holds a going nobody Kusi, yeah, a going no because why? Because the Atos Brisi Tishma, and it's for Kusi, but Rabbi Yehuda says elsewhere the Kusi can't because he has no Avodah Zarah. Rabbi Yeshi argues and he says, who says you need Hatoida Lishma? Let the guy mala until eventually he'll get killed for what he's doing, for being over the Avodah Zarah. So what's going on? Rabbi Yehuda, I are in trouble. We go back and we go back to the first way. No us. The Kash Rabbi Yehuda, problem of Rabbi Yehuda. So go back to the first way we learned. Rabbi Yehuda holds the first eifuch. Rabbi Yehuda holds a kusi is also and a guy is mutter. Rabbi Meir holds a guy is also and a kusi mutter. Rabbi Meir holds a guy is also because he killed a child, so a guy is also. Rabbi Yehuda holds that a guy is mutter and a kusi is also. A kusi is also because Hashem Avodah Zarah. So how come a guy is mutter when he said Ato is brisi tishmer? So we're going to tell you it's a different Rabbi Yehuda. The Rabbi Yehuda Hanasihi, the one who says Ato is brisi tishmer, is a different Rabbi Yehuda because of the same name. The time of the Bryce Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Different thing altogether. And tomorrow we'll learn about Lishma, about Bris Milah. It has to be Lishma. Tomorrow, B'Tz Hashem.
Okay. Bye.